What's going on, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm going to be talking about how body weight affects running. Before I do that though, you might notice that my studio looks a little bit different. There have been some changes, which I'll probably share later in another video, but I'll give you guys a quick tour. Anyway, the point is today is that we're going to be going over how body weight affects running. I'm going to be talking you through my weight loss journey over the past few months. I'm currently cutting weight for an upcoming race that I have, and I'm going to explain my rationale behind that and as to why I'm doing it. I'm going to explain some info about just weight and how it affects running in general, why a lot of runners are obviously skinny, all that kind of stuff, and some considerations you may want to take into account for yourself or your own training, some things you may want to know regarding your strength, your running performance, all that kind of shit. So let's not chat anymore, let's dive in. Okay, so before we dive into everything, I'm going to explain my weight loss journey, why I'm doing it, and some of the rationale. So a few months ago, I entered into a half marathon. I now have a couple races coming up, but I felt like in my training over the past year or so that my fitness was improving, but I always felt heavy on my legs. Even though I was getting faster, I did notice the effects of being heavier on my legs and on my running performance. The last half marathon I did, I weighed around 93, 94 kilos. The last lifting competition and race that I did, the push-pull run comp, I was about 94 kilos as well. And I didn't feel fat or overweight in any way. It's not a body image issue. It is merely just a performance-based problem that I found. I found that when I would be running at higher paces, I would struggle to maintain those paces. I would feel heavy on my legs quite quickly. I would feel my legs get a pump really quickly. So there were a few things that kind of made me start to realize that I think maybe losing some weight is going to help in terms of my running performance particularly. Not so much my strength, because that's not my primary focus right now, but definitely in terms of my running performance. So at the start of this year, I set the goal of just losing a few kilos, and I wanted to try and sit anywhere between the 88 to 90 kilo mark. Roughly, that's what I guessed. So I could then go ahead and see how my performance is both in training and at my next few races. So it's now been about 7 or 8 weeks of dieting. I'm 88 kilos now. I don't think I'm really going to drop any more weight, although I have my next few races coming up in the next month or so. I don't think my weight is going to change much more than where it is right now. To be honest, I probably don't want it to, because I don't think I'm going to get much more out of the weight loss benefits at this point. So what did I notice? I definitely feel leaner. I definitely feel lighter on my legs. My legs don't get as sore after big runs anymore. I can back up my runs days in succession, 3 or 4 days in succession, and my legs actually feel really fresh. This is probably a combination both of my fitness improving, but also the fact that I am lighter. Because I'm physically not carrying as much weight, it is not as hard on my ankles, particularly my lower limb from my knee down. It doesn't feel as thrashed anymore like it used to. I feel like my running form is a lot more consistent as well. My legs don't brush up against each other as much because I've dropped roughly 6 kilos. So I've lost a little bit of size and weight around my legs. So I feel like my running form has actually improved a little bit too. In addition to that, I will say that I haven't noticed extreme benefits in my times over my runs, but I am definitely able to maintain higher paces for longer, and it feels way easier than it used to. So for me, running at like 4:20 to 4-minute pace was really hard, and I wouldn't be able to do it for very long. Now it's become a lot easier. And again, this is definitely a combination of both my fitness improvements over the past couple months training for the half marathon, but it 100% has to do with my weight loss, because previously when I would be running at these paces, even when I was doing higher volume than I am now, I would feel heavy in my legs. I understand that it may be a bunch of factors, but definitely one of those factors is the fact that I've dropped weight. I feel lighter on my legs. I feel more springy. I just feel like I can move better. And to be honest, running just makes more sense when you're lower body weight. So I want to make this clear, I don't train for aesthetics. Although I do arms and all that kind of stuff in my weight training program, I am not the kind of person that trains like a bodybuilder. I generally train for performance with strength as my primary focus and my goal. The weight loss you're about to see, or my body right now, is a product of my training, and I am not doing this for clout. I'm not a fitfluencer that wants to post shirtless photos on the internet and all that kind of stuff. So I would appreciate if people took note of that, and that this is merely for science-based purposes. This is what I look like right now. Okay, So you can see I'm quite lean. I've clipped my chest recently. So I'm pretty lean. I would have no idea what body fat I am. Maybe 10, maybe 11, but I'm roughly 88 kilos. And this is me doing 3 weight training sessions per week. I don't think I'll be losing much more weight. To be honest, I feel like if I lose any more weight, my performance will decrease. I don't think I'm getting much more benefit out of any more weight loss than where I am right now. However, if I do drop a little bit more weight because my running volume is high, I'm not going to deliberately be dropping any more calories than where I'm at right now. I'm currently on 3,200 calories per day. I do eat a little bit more on the days that I run though, but I'm not going to talk about my diet a whole lot in this video. There are legs there. There are legs there. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm actually not sure if I'll post that last bit online. Despite what it looks like, I will say this, that I do get quite insecure about having my body online and posting about it. I know that as a coach, people want to see what you can do and what you look like and all that kind of stuff. But I always want to be known for my knowledge and the information I provide before any of that. My body is a byproduct of my work, and I've been training for 16 years now, more. And I'm only 30 years old. I started when I was really young. So what you see is a product of years of effort. It did not come easily. And I'm past the point now where I care heaps about the way I look. It is more now a performance-based goal that I have. If anyone is in the same boat where you feel insecure about your body and all that kind of stuff, I just want to say, I do too. And I've been doing this for a long time. And I can understand that my physique and the way I look may be something that a lot of people aspire to have, but it's still something that I feel weird about, oddly enough. Anyway, enough of that. Okay, so let's start with the obvious thing. Most of the best runners in the world are light as fuck, really light. Some of the males are anywhere between 55 to 65 kilos. Some of the females are anywhere between 45 to 55 kilos. So there's a range that they're all pretty fucking light, basically. There's a reason for that. You'll notice that all runners are really lean, as in they're low body fat. They don't really have a lot of muscle mass. You're not going to see any bodybuilders smashing half marathons, and there's a reason for that as well, which I'll explain. They just have enough muscle to be able to do the job. So I wouldn't say that, particularly in the legs, even elite level runners, they look skinny, but there is muscle there. They're just super low body fat, and they don't have the definition and size that like a bodybuilder would. So running obviously is a weight-bearing sport. It requires you to carry a load over distances. And obviously, the lighter that load is, the easier you are going to be able to carry that load over whatever distance it is, half marathon, 10K, 5K, whatever it is. So being lighter generally means that you're able to propel your body forward easier than someone who is heavier. You're more efficient. A lighter runner is more efficient at using oxygen than a heavier runner. A 90 kilo runner may use the same amount of oxygen as a 60 kilo runner, but the 60 kilo runner will likely be able to sustain the effort for a longer period of time because they're not carrying as much body weight. They're more efficient. They don't have as much muscle mass that oxygen then needs to fuel. And their legs obviously won't get as tired because, again, they're not carrying as much body weight. If you had two people of the exact same fitness level, but one guy's 90 kilos and one guy's 60 kilos, and they both had to run a long distance marathon, 42 Ks, the person that is lighter is more likely to beat the person that is heavier if everything else is equal other than their body weight. The reason for that is that this 90 kilo person has a lot more weight to move, has a lot more muscle mass that requires oxygen compared to the lighter person. This lighter person and this heavier person may have the exact same amount of mitochondria or things within your muscles or cells that create ATP for energy. But because the lighter person has less muscle mass, it doesn't have to go as far and it doesn't need to distribute itself and fuel basically as much muscle as the person that's heavier. The person that's heavier, even if they're producing the same amount as the person that's lighter, has a lot more surface area to cover, has a lot more muscle that needs to be fueled in order to keep up the same pace, distance, fitness. So this next bit might get a little bit nerdy for some people, but I want to explain the 3 different influences on your fitness and how body weight impacts those. There are 3 things that will accumulate together to create your fitness. It is your VO2 max, it is your lactate threshold, and it is your running economy. VO2 max is your maximum intake of oxygen per milliliter per kilogram per minute. What that basically means is what is the most amount of air or oxygen your body can intake and use. There is a direct correlation between the amount your VO2 max is and your fitness levels. The fittest people and the best marathon runners in the world probably have quite high VO2 maxes. I would say they're probably 65 to 70, maybe even higher. I think the highest VO2 max ever recorded was 90 something. I'll fact check that and I'll have something on the screen. And that's normally by a cross-country skier. So those people are able to use a lot of oxygen. The more oxygen you have, the more oxygen you can use, the more efficient you are, the more oxygen that is going to the cells where it is needed to produce energy and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get too into the sciencey details here. Long story short though, how does being heavier affect that? If you are fucking 200 kilos and you're able to intake 60 milliliters of oxygen, but because your weight is so heavy, the scale tips a little bit, you're not very efficient, you can't really get it to where it needs to go. Long story short, a bit of algebra I'll show on the screen, I think here, and you'll see that being heavier ruins that, long story short. If your body weight increases, you become less efficient at using oxygen, which generally means, not always, that you aren't as fit as you were before, if we're basing this off that equation alone. The next one is lactate threshold. This is the point at which your body begins to use lactate for energy. And when you start to produce pyruvate, which starts to cause those things in your legs, that tingling feeling, the burning, the lactic acid feeling that many people know. Lactic acid is actually not the bad thing. It's pyruvate plus hydrogen ions and a whole bunch of other things that cause that burning sensation. Lactate is merely an energy source. So when it is being used for energy, it is causing those things. But the point is, the lactate threshold is the point at which all of that shit starts to occur. For a really good runner, they may be able to run at a really high heart rate and a really high pace before that starts to happen. For someone like me, I only need to run at like 4:15, 4:20 pace roughly for like a couple Ks before that starts to happen. Okay. I'm not gonna go into different lactate thresholds. There's LT1 and LT2. That's a different video, and I think that's a little bit too complicated for some of us beginners to intermediates here. But for now, you just need to know that lactate threshold is the point at which your body begins to use lactate for energy, and generally being heavier means that's going to happen a lot sooner because you're carrying more weight and your muscles are working harder. Then the last thing being your running economy, and the running economy is a combination of a few things. It's your running form, it's your ground contact time, how quickly your feet hit the floor, how springy you are, the amount of energy you use when you run. Obviously, being lighter means you're generally not going to use as much energy, which means you're going to be a little bit more efficient, which means you need less energy so you can produce higher outputs for longer periods of time before requiring things like gels and all that kind of stuff, or before your body begins to use lactate for energy. There's a lot of evidence that being lighter and all that kind of stuff improves your running economy dramatically, because not only can your running form improve, not only can your ability to carry your body weight be more efficient because you're simply just carrying less. Studies show that losing weight, particularly body fat, can just make you more efficient overall. You generally don't want to carry a lot of weight or body fat, particularly because it's just not being used as extra dead weight basically that you're carrying, because it's not able to help you move any faster. Particularly body fat is something you want to get rid of if you're trying to be a faster runner, and that's a big influence on your running economy as well. So running economy is a combination of your body weight to fitness, or aerobic capacity ratio, your VO2 max and lactate threshold are included in there, as well as things like the springiness of your tendons, stiffness, your running form, all that kind of shit. There's a whole bunch of things here, but most of them, if not all of them, improve when you're lighter body weight or lower body fat. Long story short, all three of those things I just mentioned, lactate threshold, VO2 max, running economy, can influence your power to weight ratio, which is going to help you run faster, for longer, and easier. It's not just about being light, it's about being lean and fit. If you take anything away from this video, improved power to weight ratio, it's not just about being light, it's about being lean and fit. When it comes to strength or gaining muscle, if you're strength-based or hypertrophy-focused, muscle gain focused, gaining weight and being heavier is usually better. Your muscles have more fuel, they have more energy and protein or amino acids being transported to them. There is more glycogen in your bloodstream due to the amount of food that you're eating, which makes transportation of those nutrients and all that other stuff into the cells more available and more productive for muscle growth or strength gain. It allows them to repair faster. Being heavier is also really useful for strength because mass tends to move mass. In addition to that, having higher body fat can be beneficial for some lifters because higher body fats can create stability around joints. For example, a lot of the best bench presses in the world are actually quite high body fat. And that is because having high muscle mass and body fat can make the shoulder, which is a relatively unstable joint, more stable and more stiff, which allows them to produce more force when under maximal loads. So being heavier is often beneficial for strength for obvious reasons. You grow faster, you can get stronger faster, you recover quicker, and it can improve your stability and therefore can improve your performance and recovery capabilities over a long period of time, meaning you can train harder, etc. Now, being higher body weight when it comes to running is the opposite. It can make running harder. It can actually make you more fatigued if you're comparing your runs to someone that is lighter and you're doing the same amount of work. Generally, the person that is heavier is going to experience a lot more fatigue because they're carrying a heavier amount or a larger amount of body weight over that same distance. In addition to that, it makes you less efficient. Like I said before, you're not able to transport as much oxygen as efficiently to where it is needed. So in theory, you need to be even fitter to get the same amount of output as someone that would be lighter. So those are the different influences body weight can have compared to strength and running. Generally, what most hybrids like us will find is that you need to have a sweet spot. For me, my strongest weight, or most efficient in terms of strength, is usually around that 94, 95 kilo mark. I've deadlifted 300 kilos. I've benched about 150 at that body weight. I think for the most part, I can continue to get stronger at that body weight if I really devoted more time to powerlifting or strength training as a whole. However, when I run at that body weight, I do find it hard over longer distances. If it's a shorter distance, like a 5K or a 10K, I'm not too bad. I think I've set my 10K PB personally at that 93, 94 kilo weight range. So there's generally going to be a range. Your fittest or fastest weight is probably going to be less than your heaviest and or strongest weight. I find staying within that range is probably the best way to go. For me, as I mentioned before, I'm testing out this 88 to 90 kilo range. I want to see how I go there. I'm going to try and stay here for the majority of this year if I can and see if I can actually get stronger while maintaining this body weight. But I'm going to see how my performance goes. But at the moment, this has definitely been better for my running performance, which is definitely lacking way more than my lifting performance is at the moment. So something to consider, your strongest body weight is likely different to your fittest and fastest body weight. Your fittest and fastest body weight is more than likely going to be lighter than your strongest, which is probably going to be heavier. Okay, hybrids, thanks so much for watching. So I've shared my own weight loss situation / journey and how dropping body weight has influenced my running performance. I've explained to you how body weight can influence your running performance. I've highlighted things like VO2 max, lactate threshold, running economy, and how body weight influences running performance just in general. For me personally at the moment, with my weight loss / running journey, I still consider myself an intermediate at most. I'm definitely not advanced. I think that it has definitely helped me improve, and I have found notable differences and influences in my ability to run faster and sustain longer periods of time. It has also helped me improve my recovery. I don't feel as banged up after hard runs anymore because I'm just simply not carrying as much weight. If we refer back to what I said not too long ago, my power to weight ratio is probably higher, and it means I'm both leaner, lower body fat, and fitter, which makes me more efficient, which is crucial if you want to get better at endurance running, like I do right now, and many of you hybrids want to as well. But we do need to consider the influence this can have on our strength if strength is also a goal of ours. Being heavier is generally better, so we may have a range where our strength is better at those heavier weights, but our speed and or fitness is better at lighter weights, and we may want to stay somewhere in between or fluctuate based off what our goals are as of right now. If dropping your body weight is something you want to do and or consider, but you're not sure, feel free to ask me. I'll gladly help you out. It won't cost you anything. You can simply ask me a question. But nonetheless, if you need support and or guidance with your hybrid training, getting stronger and or fitter, or managing the countless injuries that come with that type of training, I have online coaching spots available for anyone, anywhere in the world. All of my programs are tailored to each and every one of you. You do not get a cookie cutter program that I've given to someone else. Everything is tailored to you. You're not getting some general program that I just fucking dish out. You work with me one-on-one, and I give you the best service I possibly can. Numbers are limited. I don't just take on anyone, but if you want my help and you are serious, I'll gladly help you out. I hope we're the right fit. Nonetheless, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much and for always being patient with me. I'll see you next time.